everyone. I'm Liz Brown Swanson with the great mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, Mayor Dave Bradley, bringing you our monthly mayor's update right here on RPV City Talk. We got lots to talk about from the most beautiful place in Rancho Palos Verdes, or one of them.
One of them. We have so many beautiful places in Rancho Palos Verdes. It's hard to pull out one to say it's the most beautiful.
But this is amazing. We are at the back patio of the Point Vicente Interpretive Center. Behind you, Mayor, we've got the whale watchers out there counting the whales as they go by, because this is a big weekend for our city.
This is a great weekend. It's the 40th anniversary of Whale of the Day. I think when this airs, we will have the 40th anniversary of Whale of the Day in our rear view mirror, or the whale will be behind us. But it's an exciting time. Once again, one of my favorite events, this as well as 4th of July celebration. But Whale of a Day is really our special thing.
Yes, by our next mayor's update, we'll have all the highlights to share. And, you know, the whales going by right now, they're heading northbound, right? We're part of the ending up the whale migration, which starts in December, and then it goes all the way through the end of April. They start in the cold waters, the gray whales up there in the Arctic, and head down to have their babies in Mexico. And now they're coming back up, and they're going to wave to the mayor. They know he's right here.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of fog this morning, so I'm not sure we can see too many whales this morning. But
I know, and it's giving another scene setter here, of course, at the Interpretive Center. Right over to our right, Mayor, we have Dave's favorite spot in the city, really, the lighthouse, which we're going to talk about later in the show, the Point Vicente Lighthouse. And we have lots to talk about going on in the city, starting off with it's budget season, and the council and the community are working together for the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. You're in the process of setting that. Tell us how it's shaping up along with the city goals as it all comes together.
So we're considering the budget challenges that we've had over the last couple of years. One of the major challenges has been what we have been spending for stabilization of Palos Verdes Drive South, as well as that entire area. It has been a real hit to our city budgets and our reserves. We're doing everything we can to stabilize PV Drive South, make sure it's open, make sure our residents have a clear path between the city. But all the things that we have put in place, the one-time expenditures, now are going to go into our annual budget for operation and maintenance. So we got to continue to maintain that infrastructure that we put in. That altogether is going to be a dramatic increase year over year for us, including the continued maintenance of Palos Verdes Drive South, repaving it, as well as the deep dewatering wells and the winterization and all that. We're still looking to get additional contribution from our county, state, and federal partners, but that money's frankly a little slow to come.
Right.
And we have some serious needs to have that done sooner than later.
So as you're looking at the projected cost for the next year for the landslide, I think I'm reading about $36 million more dollars that are needed for landslide.
It's about $36 million more to put in the near-term infrastructure, and then to continue the maintenance of the infrastructure that we've put in, as well as continuing to repave Palos Verdes Drive South and make sure Palos Verdes Drive South maintains safe for our residents.
And since our state of emergency in our city, which was declared over a year and a half ago now, the city has spent tens of millions of dollars at this point. Do you have a ballpark figure of how much
we've spent over $40 million of our reserves in putting in emergency measures to make sure that Palos Verdes Drive South is safe and continues to operate as a major thoroughfare through the city, as well as provides support for our residents in the three neighborhoods that have been affected by the landslide.
The expected fiscal year, the budget is around $37 million?
It's just under $40 million.
Okay. And what about as far as reductions in our spending? Like, I know staff is always feverishly looking at ways to reduce spending, as you also need money to meet all the goals that you're setting.
So I wouldn't say that we're looking to reduce spending. We're looking to be efficient in our spending. I mean, we are a contract city, and one of the challenges we've had is our staff has been almost singularly focused on responding to the crisis in the landslide. Unfortunately, that has taken staff time away from managing other projects throughout the city that would allow for other infrastructure. We're trying to right-size it. We have been successful on bringing on additional staff within the Public Works Department. In fact, at the last City Council meeting, we were introduced to two new engineers working for Ramsey Awad in our Public Works Department. One of them very cool. Actually went to the same elementary school, same intermediate school, and same high school as me. So she's got to be smart.
Yes, she's definitely smart. These engineers, we are so fortunate to have all you smart people. Which I guess when you say smart, Dave, we could apply that to city goals, because isn't that like the measurable? The SMART is an acronym for the goals that our city works on.
So over the last 5 years, that's been one of my goals, is to reform our goals. When I came on city council, I think we had 130 different goals. And I think what I was quoted was saying, if you have 130 goals, you have no goals, because you have no way of tracking them and putting them all together. So over the last couple of years, we've coalesced those goals into major projects that were then trackable, measurable, so we can track how we're doing in meeting the expectations of those goals. Unfortunately, some of those goals take a lot of resources, so we've had to defer on actionable things for some of our goals over the years, but we're keeping track of those, and we are going to continue to execute on those goals when we have the funds available.
And of course, for our community watching, our residents, these goals are easy to track thanks to the mayor and council creating the Gantt chart setup too. So that was also an amazing improvement to really be able to look at how the goals, how they're being completed, where they're at. So do log on to the city website. We always say this, rpvca.gov, to check out, go onto the finance department section, and you can read about all the finances going on, the planning and all that. And there is some workshops. You had your first workshop on April 3rd.
Right.
You have another one coming up. Is it April? I have it written down
we
here.
have one
17th?
coming up this Thursday.
Okay, on Thursday, April 17th. And that's all part of the process. The community is welcome at Hess Park.
Absolutely.
And so stay tuned for that. We were talking about the landslide expenses. On that note, we always love to update the community on where we're at as our city is still in a declared state of emergency.
Absolutely.
Look at this gorgeous day. We've managed to make it through the winter rains and survive that with mitigation measures. What do you want to let the community know right now? How we're dealing with the landslide situation?
So the landslide is not, monolithic. We have had great success on the eastern side of the landslide, retarding that with the deep dewatering wells, getting the stabilization down, where Southern California Edison, the gas company, have come in and started re-energizing homes in both the Beach Club as well as Seaview neighborhoods and getting people back on the grid, which is very encouraging.
Right.
The western side around the ski jump, and I think we all know what the ski jump is, continues to move at below or above normal rates. We're trying to put infrastructure there to take the water out to try to retard that as much as possible as well. We have been able to get some of the emergency winterization items in there. So we really think that's paying dividends, and things are slowing down. It's not all the way there yet. We still need a significant amount of capital infusion into the city to really take care of it in a holistic way.
Right. Obviously, for the hundreds of impacted residents that live within the landslide complex, the city is working with them, helping them along. I think there's still the weekly Mend the Bends. Do you know if those are still going on?
There is a Mend the Bend dinner on Wednesday nights. That's still going on. It's not going on every Wednesday, but it is going on most Wednesdays.
It's right.
And it's a great time for the affected community to come together and have a meal and be able to relax and get a little respite from the craziness that is going on.
And also the federal buyout program that's going to help bring relief to some homeowners that have had their homes red tagged and they're not inhabitable to purchase those homes. That's all moving forward as well.
Yes, we're continuing to work with our federal partners to take care of that as well.
Well, thank you for all that. I want to move on to talk about public safety, because we discuss this it's our number one goal in the city. And it's the top priority. In the last two council meetings, public safety measures came up, including, as mayor, you were signing a letter that was sent to County Supervisor Janice Hahn, saying it's time, we need to see more sheriff's deputies hired, because I think they're short by 1,500 deputies right now. And I wondered how that's impacting our own public safety and the Lomita Sheriff Station, and the whole intent of that letter that was sent to the supervisor.
So the intent of the letter was just to put the city of Rancho Palos Verdes on record, or actually the supervisors on record, that there is a continued shortage of deputies within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and we really need to get them up to full strength. It doesn't affect our direct services that much for Rancho Palos Verdes, but what it does affect is our ability to have overtime and to be able to surge. So we ask for specific surge measures to help us combat crime, traffic safety, and things like that. And sometimes our station just doesn't have the manpower or resources to be able to do that because they're covering down on the basic services.
Right.
So we are encouraging the supervisors to authorize Sheriff Luna to hire those 1,500 additional deputies, get them into the pipeline, and get them deployed out on the streets to help all of our residents.
Right, and I know I said 1,500, which we were just saying, Sheriff Luna, I think there was actually 1,400 vacancies, but I'm sure an extra 100 would certainly help the situation.
Well, with anything, 1,400 turns into 1,500 overnight with retirements and folks that are with just natural attrition with the sheriff's department.
I think Sheriff Luna said that like 100% of the sheriff's services are being provided by about 70% of the fleet that's needed to do all this. So thank you for being on that on our behalf to keep our community safe. And on that note, our city council, you as mayor, have moved forward launching a new public safety division. The 3 new public safety officers that will be working for our city, doing non-emergency calls to supplement sheriff services to assist. They were just introduced to you and the council. Just expand on that, where we're going and how that is going to be very important for our residents to have these this public safety division created.
So the idea was to create a public safety division, not to be redundant with what the sheriff's department is doing, but to take some of the less critical functions off the sheriff's department, allow our deputies respond to things that a actually sworn peace officer needs to respond to, and then we can take some of the less priority calls, less critical actions, and help with our residents. A lot of residential outreach, a lot of discussion with the community on how to make sure your home is safe and things like that. So it's really meant to augment and be a cost-effective way of augmenting the sheriff's department.
Right. People, though, when they have an emergency, will still call 911 or whatever, and then it could be then sent to our division if it's considered non-emergency.
Sure. These would be non-emergency calls for service. Things of, a stray dog, things like that. We can respond to that and make sure we get the proper services routed to it, as opposed to having a sworn deputy come out and do something like that where they could be actually doing more high priority public safety, crime suppression.
As mayor, you sent a letter to County Supervisor Hahn. You also signed a letter on the public safety front, joining the other peninsula cities and sending it to the governor, saying we want to see a moratorium on any additional legislation that could impact density of housing as we are navigating, especially in the wake of the LA fires, how to deal with all of these requirements to increase housing, which being in a high fire hazard severity zone is putting our public safety at risk. So talk about that letter that you just sent, what the intent is of that letter.
So the intent of that is, and this is going to be a little bit of a political commentary on my part and my fellow council members, but over the last 5 to 8 years, the amount of local control for zoning and housing has been dramatically taken away from the cities, and it's really been a one-size-fits-all. As we saw in Pacific Palisades and Altadena during these fires, we really need a strong understanding of local topology to be able to make sure we have safe development. A lot of things that have been coming out of the Sacramento in way of housing are very confusing, overlapping laws. The Department of Housing and Urban Development in California has to try to interpret all those laws and all of the conflicting regulations that have been put in. It's really becoming overwhelming, and you have to be a lawyer to be able to figure out all of the interacting ordinances. Now, it is interesting to note that a desert tortoise is just walking by with a piece of, it looks like lettuce on its back. This is
our resident tortoise. Daily walks. If Dave, you should be out there walking with our tortoise, because this tortoise is wonderful. Every day comes down and lives locally in San Pedro, and I think lettuce is his favorite thing.
It looks like it has a small Caesar salad on its back. So Liz, not only do we have whales swimming by in back of us, we now have a African desert tortoise walking by in front of us. Only in Rancho Palos Verdes do you have whales to the left, tortoises to the right, and it's a really great time. Though I also have a tortoise. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't take my tortoise for a walk.
Yes, this is Nomad. It's our resident tortoise. If you come down here every day, this tortoise is out with the owner walking 1.5 miles. And I think, it might be beneficial for you to get your tortoise out here and get some exercise.
Sounds good. I'll have to bring him out.
The next show we can call Turtle Talk.
Turtle Talk.
Are you ready for that? Is a tortoise a turtle?
No.
So
tortoises and turtles are very different.
Okay, you're right.
And you call a tortoise a turtle, they get offended.
All right, we'll call it Tortoise Talk with the mayor.
Tortoise Talk,
yeah,
yes.
No, but you never know. That's what's so wonderful about being here. We come here to watch the gray whale migration, but you just see so much beautiful nature, birds, and all of that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful marvels of nature. But back to what we were talking about. We were talking about what we're doing as a council to protect in the event of wildfires, et cetera. And we want our residents to also be mindful and do their due diligence, whether it's, brush clearance and preparing for an emergency.
Absolutely. After what we saw in Pacific Palisades and Altadena, the fire danger in Southern California is real. And all of us can take measures to make our homes and our businesses more resilient to fire. The CAL FIRE and our local LA County Fire Department have great resources on home hardening, how to make your house more resilient, more resistant. Unfortunately, the older the house, the more you need to actually take resiliency measures to make sure that it is as safe as it can be just for Mother Nature.
We're going to move on to talking about the energy front and what we're doing as a city for energy savings.
Sounds like a shocking topic.
It's going to light up the show. Brighten the show. We're going to get there. Our city council voted to move forward with installing electric vehicle charging stations, EV stations, up at Ladera Linda Community Park.
So we have always been looking at how to continue vehicle electrification within the city. A lot of our facilities were never scarred in with infrastructure to be able to allow for high voltage and high amperage charging. Fortunately, when we put in Ladera Linda, we did scar for that type of charging infrastructure, and now we're trying to figure out how to do it. I directed staff to go take a look at how we could put in level 3 charging, which is the new high amperage quick chargers, which would allow people to charge an electric vehicle much quicker and move on with their day. So we're just trying to figure out how to do the right thing at Ladera Linda and for other sites around the city.
And I think eventually they'll be installing 7 charging stations, and the city has received a grant.
We have
over
a grant to install those at Ladera Linda, and then we're going to see what it would take to install additional charging stations at things like Hess Park, here at Point Vicente, and other places around the city.
And your council did approve setting a rate to charge people that are using them per kilowatt hour. I think it's like 52 cents, or you'll come up with the amount eventually that's fair market, so that it doesn't cost the city. It's a fair market rate to defer the cost of putting in that infrastructure and maintaining that infrastructure and providing the electricity. It's not meant to make money, but then again, with what the issues we have with the city finances, we certainly don't want to be losing money. On the subject of money and expenses, one thing that's come up before the council multiple times is whether or not to proceed with a proposed Palos Verdes Historic Society Museum Annex that would have been put in possibly right here at the Point Vicente Interpretive Center. The society has come forward over the years, including the society's former president and our city founder, Ken Dida, with some proposed ideas. The council over the past month considered the project again, looked at it, and has decided at this point to just receive and file what staff is showing what this could mean to have a museum like this. But at this point, we're not moving forward with something like this. Tell the community what they need to know about this project and where it's going.
So the additional local history museum is still in its planning phase. There's a couple different ideas. One would be incorporate that museum with the redevelopment of the Civic Center.
Okay.
Another is to have it down here at Point Vicente Interpretive Center. Both of them, we're still working through the finances and the long-term operations and maintenance. The city just wants to make sure that we have adequate resources to be able to take care of any facility in the long term, and it makes sense in the overall city master plan.
Right, and the staff basically, and the council directed the Palos Verdes Historical Society proponents to also consider additional sites and at this point too, then besides right here.
Exactly.
All right. On the subject of Point Vicente Interpretive Center, it doesn't get better than this. Like,
It does
this
not.
is truly a jewel of our community. Let's talk a little bit about the history of PVIC that was first built in 1984. What would you like to share with residents to understand the evolution of what's here as a resource?
So this has all been part of the city's development over the last 55 years. Point Vicente, a beautiful resource in the city, right next to Point Vicente Lighthouse, which is a Coast Guard property. It now has been underutilized for several years, and we're looking at working with the U.S. Coast Guard on how to leverage Point Vicente Lighthouse, be able to do programs and celebrations at the lighthouse. The lighthouse, in fact, will be open tomorrow during Whale of the Day.
Yes,
so
for
one
tours.
of the tours you can go over there. I can't tell people. I highly encourage you to go over there tomorrow, because when you watch this, it will be next
Yes,
week.
It's
Hopefully
so
you went over
amazing
there.
to tour the grounds there, because you can't go in the lighthouse anymore, but you can certainly tour the grounds of the museum when you go over
Right.
there.
I've continued to ask RPVtv if we can do City Talk from the cupola of the lighthouse, and they keep looking at me like I've lost my mind. But that is not unusual for RPVtv to look at me like I've lost my mind.
Well, we are going to reach out to the Coast Guard once again, see if they'll make an exception for you because you're such a beacon of light.
Oh, what an electrifying comment.
We had to do it, but it would be so wonderful. The lighthouse property, part of Lower Point
Yes.
Vicente, it's all right here, our neighbor, and what a resource it would be. But this museum, 10,000 square feet with so many wonderful exhibits, open almost every day of the year.
Yes.
To come on down. Obviously, part of the intent of this museum is to celebrate the gray whale.
Celebrate the great whale, celebrate the history of the city. There's a display in there on Marine Land, which is where Terranea is now. We have the original Fennel Lighthouse lens from Point Vicente Lighthouse on display in there, which is an amazing piece of optical engineering, if you're into optical engineering. But it's how light was sent through a prism, rectified to be able to go out to the horizon to keep our mariners safe.
Yes, I know. I have to brag because I was part of the crew when they dismantled and recreated that lens up there, and it was spectacular to see. It's the last the Fresnel lens in the country. It was the last one removed from a lighthouse, so it really is historic in so many ways. And come on down to PVIC and check it out because it's on display and it's just absolutely stunning to look at.
It is.
It's absolutely gorgeous. But also, this is just an amazing place to come and enjoy nature, go on a coastal walk. You see so many things down here. And what's your favorite part about being here, other than on Whale of a Day?
Well, being on Whale of a Day, but also taking a walk with a tortoise. I mean, where else can you do that? Point Vicente is so stunningly beautiful. It just doesn't get any better. Overlooking Catalina, overlooking the South Bay and the Queen's Necklace as you go up towards Santa Monica. It's just stunning. In addition to celebrating the Point Vicente Lighthouse, we also have our docents here from Los Serenos that help operate the Point Vicente Interpretive Center, a critical part of our operations here, in addition to the city staff that staffs the gift shop and actually runs the physical infrastructure.
I'm glad you mentioned that gift shop because it's one of the best gift shops on the peninsula. Shop there all year round, and you'll find a little bit of everything, especially really nice local gifts. But mentioning those docents, this operation, the city owns Point Vicente Interpretive Center, but they are the Los Serenos docents are such an important part of keeping this operating and giving great tours.
Oh, absolutely. If it wasn't for the Los Serenos docents, we would be lost here at Point Vicente.
All right. Well, I want to move on to another exciting topic, and that is the fact that our entire city council just got back from a 5-day trip or so, about a week, right? You were in Sakura City, Japan, to celebrate our sister city partnership, the 5th anniversary. Tell us about that trip.
So not only was it the 5th anniversary of our sister city relationship, it was the 20th anniversary of the foundation of Sakura City, which was a combination of two smaller towns that 20 years ago came together and became Sakura City. It was really phenomenal being able to go over there and sit down with their city council and learn about Sakura City. Their city council had been here to Rancho Palos Verdes 3 times in the past 5 years, and this was our opportunity to be reciprocate and go over there for their celebration. They hosted the entire city council. There were some cultural events, there were some dinners, but just amazing to reach across the pond that is the Pacific Ocean. There's so many things that we have in common, and and such a great partnership. That all started with a exchange program between Maryland Intermediate School and the Intermediate School in Sakura City 30 years ago, and we have just codified that with from city to city now. Just really exciting.
Well, I know you saw some beautiful sights, had some amazing meals. And
Yes.
And you had been to Sakura City for business reasons, so
Right,
I've been. You could have been the tour guide.
Yeah, I was here for the second time. Unfortunately, when I had to leave a little bit early, unfortunately, the cherry blossoms within Sakura City, and I think Sakura City has some just crazy number of multiple different types of cherry, like 5,000 different cherry trees throughout the city. The buds were just ready to pop.
Well, I did see some photos from your trip, and we're going to have a whole special about the council's visit to share with us, with our community on RPVtv coming up, so stay tuned for that. But I did see the council planting a tree.
Yes.
A ceremonial.
We were able to do a ceremonial planting of a sakura tree in Sakura City. Kind of cool.
That is very cool. On that note, we are going to have to wrap it up because it's time to go. But how about final mayor's announcements for you? What else do you want to share with the community?
That I think, we are getting into the spring season, that we're kicking off with Whale of a Day, which is our first major party of the year.
Yes.
I hope I have seen everybody in the city tomorrow during Whale of a Day, but that kicks off our celebrations, and we go into our other celebrations for the rest of the summer.
We have some other announcements here. Do you want to mention we're going to have another what's going to be a Peninsula Wildfire Town Hall? Our city held a very successful town hall.
On April 26th. Assemblymember Al Marisucci will be hosting a town hall here at Hess Park from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. to go over wildfire preparedness and how to make sure your property is as hardened as possible and as resilient as possible. CAL FIRE, just as another little announcement, CAL FIRE has recently redone the very high fire zone severity map, and that has impacted several areas within the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. And then
we mentioned budget workshop and a CIP workshop.
Yes. I mean, we're in the budget season. As part of that is the CIP workshop as well as the budget workshop. That's all tied together with the integrated goals planning process for the city. Those are both open to the public if anybody is interested in coming out for that. Those dates and times are on the city website.
April 17th for the budget workshop. CIP workshop is on the 29th at Hess Park, and you can catch it via Zoom.
Yep. And then the last thing is on May 10th, there is a shred event, and that is not you getting out and going surfing, Liz. That is actually bringing some papers to City Hall. I believe every resident can bring 2 bankers boxes full of personal documents, and EDCO has an on-site shredding capability, and they'll shred those documents for you. Make sure that we minimize the opportunity for identity theft for our people as well.
Get the final word. Anything else you want to add?
Looking forward to Tortoise Talk next month, and I just hope everyone comes out as much as possible. Come down to Point Vicente Interpretive Center. It is gorgeous down here today. You just can't make up how gorgeous it is down here. And come take a look at a whale and a tortoise.
You got it all. Thank you then again, Mayor Bradley, for all you do for our community. And we are going to be back here again. We hope to see you here at the Point Vicente Interpretive Center every day of the year. It is absolutely gorgeous. Take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.